Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your hosts, Will and myself, Allison, and Samantha is in the house. Yay, with her floofy hair, looking beautiful, looking really good. Have you?
And it's all due.
We're not going to tell everybody your secret, are we?
Okay, I just did.
You did? You said the colander?
I got the colander.
Well, now they know.
I missed
And a
that.
colander.
Right.
Another story for another podcast. Today, we're going to talk about AI,
That'll be
which is really, really a topic of conversation in a lot of circles.
Yes.
It-
We were topicing that conversation right before this started.
Right. So we thought, let's just keep going. We're riffing.
Mhm.
I remember here we are in, I don't know, January, early February or something right now. But Christmas of last year, we were at my dad's.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
remember.
We're sitting in his living room
Okay.
and we're all looking at news on our phone. And you said something about, hey, have you seen, because you saw something about Chat GPT.
Oh, Chat GPT. That's right.
And you were like, have you seen this thing?
That's right.
Chat
I started
GPT.
messing.
And all of a sudden on Christmas, whatever it was, day or day after, and we're messing with Chat GPT and we're telling it to write a paper using these references
Write a 5,000 word blah, blah, blah,
on
blah.
this
That you were
subject.
doing nothing with. You were just demanding it to.
Because we were fascinated and couldn't even believe.
That
And
was
in 5 seconds, we had like 1,000
like
word paper.
like a dissertation with references and yeah.
And then you could put it even.
And mine was, tell me how wonderful David Love, the real estate agent, is. Because I was explaining it to my brother, and it started writing up all this stuff about what a
Really?
magnificent
Yeah.
person he was, and digging
How
up information
funny.
about
I
him.
want to
Yeah.
say that was Chat GPT 3 point something, and now they're on 4 point something. So
So you can even put it into somebody else's tone, like
Yeah.
Winston Churchill or whoever. You could have it speak in that way.
or in what I've used it for recently is if I need for the geekies out there, the ones that geek out on coding and technology and stuff, as I'm rewriting Allison's website and a friend's website, I need some CSS code to change some little functionality within it. And I can put in and ask, because I use WordPress, I need some WordPress CSS code that'll do blah, 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 blah. And boop, pops it
Okay,
up.
so there are definitely benefits to AI. There are benefits, but we're going to talk about some of the struggles or some of the things to think about with regard to AI, right? We were fascinated with it a year ago, and look where we are already today. It's crazy.
I couldn't do my production flow without it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And for someone who's very ADHD, and I know I mentioned that a lot, but it's my truth. It helps structure what I want to write about because we go back and forth, and it helps me then to develop a framework that I can riff off of.
Yeah.
And it makes it so much easier.
Wow.
Yeah, there are a lot of benefits. But what I was seeing at that time, when you were telling me last year about this, right, and how easy it was to write a paper, I'm thinking in my educator brain,
Oh, yeah.
how this is ridiculous. All these people taking online classes, turning in papers anyway that are probably, they're fudging.
Mhm.
But now you can write a paper in 5 minutes and send it in, and it's really difficult for a teacher to tell.
Well, okay. Once you get used to how AI writes, unless they're really trying to put it in their tone,
Right.
you can tell.
I did listen to a really good podcast
You're
about
gonna
that.
Get to a point here. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and we'll
Okay.
get there. But I did listen to a really good podcast at one point on that type of discussion, and it was from the college professor aspect, and they said, yes, if your class is absolutely new and you have them write you a paper immediately, and they turn in this big paper, it would be very difficult. That's why you start them out slow to listen. You get to listen to their voice, and you
That's if
understand.
they're not doing everything in AI. If
Well-
you start the whole class doing AI the
Right.
whole way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But they said if you have them speaking in class, you'll know that they don't speak the way that they're writing.
Mhm.
Right.
Because most people
Right.
are going
Oh,
to
yeah,
write
there's
the
a
way they speak.
disconnect.
Yeah.
well, that's assuming again an in-person class.
That's true.
God, I would
Yeah.
say at this point, 50% or more classes
Is
are
not.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking all
It's-
these educator teacher things and how this is, I was
Affecting.
flabbergasted that day with how this was going to change the
Yeah, you
pace
put
of
up a big post
education.
on. You put a big post up.
I did, and it didn't get much
It got like
attention. I
3
guess
views.
Nobody's interested in it.
people don't care.
Well, but
I
here's
guess.
the thing. I'm just going to go down this hole. Our education system like sucks.
Mm.
It does.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
there's so little that's expected of students in high school, in elementary school, middle school,
Yeah.
whatever. So little is expected now, except for the achievers.
Yeah.
Everyone, and even then they're kind of bringing
Do
the
it anyway.
achievers down now.
Right, right.
And so, you know, you get into college and all of a sudden you're supposed to be writing these papers and stuff. So
Oh, yeah, I
like
know.
their expectation is, well, not much was asked of you there. I'm okay. I don't mean to be saying that to a professor, but
Right.
it's just
No,
that-
but I taught college. I understand what you're talking about. There was the expectations have been squashed
Watered down.
all the way
Mm-hmm.
down. In high school, you know, you try to hold a standard, especially in English, and parents complain that you're too tough, even in an AP advanced
Yeah.
placement course. You're too tough. This is too hard. My students, you know, oh my goodness. So the principals cave and the teachers cave, and it ends up just getting watered down. You're right.
Mhm.
And instead of, we're lowering the expectations. So we've changed our grading scale in South Carolina, and we're not the first.
Yep.
Instead of a 70 being passing, it's a 60 now.
Oh,
And that
geez.
was due to athletics. Anyway, we're not going to get on a tangent about
That's
that
another
because we really could, yeah.
Yeah.
But AI is going to change the face of education. It already is. So the things that I wanted to kind of get into are the creative aspect, how it helps or hinders the creative aspect,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
The discernment aspect
Mm.
that AI is introducing for us,
Good point.
and the self-aware aspect, meaning are robots and AI going to finally take over and rule humanity? What do we think? We'll save that for the end,
Mhm.
right?
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
you've already talked about creativity and how much that's helped you,
Yeah. And I will say, okay, you say
or
help and hinder.
productivity, I guess, is more
Yeah.
Yeah.
what you were.
Well, no,
talking
it's creative because, okay. So when I do, this other podcast that I do, when I'm rendering it, I take the key points from it and I put that, or the main topic, and I've got all these instructions that I give. I had named my chat GPT Jeeves. So Jeeves
Jeeves.
helps
about.
me.
There used to be Ask Jeeves. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's why I called
Ah,
him
yeah.
Jeeves. And
Again, the veterans out there will know.
and I asked if he was okay if I called him Jeeves, and he said that was perfectly fine. So we're all good.
How fun.
I'm very complimentary to my chat GPT.
Right.
So anyway, I've got all these instructions. It's not just, hey, write this, you know, I've got
All the
specific,
parameters.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then it spouts it out for me. And so then I've got a structure to work with. I've learned in the beginning, I was just putting that up and I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's like tasting cardboard or something.
Yeah.
Like it was so boring. And so like, then I realized, nope, this is the structure. So I go in and I add my own embellishments to it. Then, and I say down at the bottom, this is partially created with AI. I'm legit
You're
on
upfront,
that.
yeah.
Then I say, can you please do a summary of this that would be exciting for people in YouTube,
Mhm.
you know, that would make them
Yeah,
be
yeah.
interested in watching this. And so then it summarizes that for me. And then I say, can you break this down into 2 sentences so that I can put that in Facebook when I'm promoting it? Then I'm like, now that we've done all of this, can you create a representation of, and because I'm focused on women in this particular podcast, so on a woman, and I do have to say Caucasian because a lot of times for whatever reason, it'll give me women and hijabs and stuff, which is okay, you know, Muslim women, which is okay, but that's not my general audience.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of times I'll have to say, you know, a North American woman, or, you know, you have
Kind
to
of
you're
narrow
gonna be
narrow the
specific.
funnel down just enough.
Yeah, because
The output is there. Yeah.
it does. I mean, because, you know, you're asking it to do something and it's got all of the stuff to pull from. So
Sure.
you got to be specific. So I'll say, can you, you know, put a woman in this situation, you know, feeling good, or, you know, whatever it is, inspired. And it just creates like all of, like, if you look at my, my website or stuff that I've posted recently, if you see a creative photo there, the majority of times it's going to be having been created. Okay. So
True.
now here's the crazy thing. It'll create it for me. I pull it from ChatGPT, then I bring it into Photoshop because I need to render it a certain length,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
a width. And so then I say to Photoshop, can you please extend the images?
Yeah,
The
'cause
image
Photoshop
for
already
it.
has AI built into it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so it creates this beautiful add-on
Wow.
to it. And like all of that would have taken, I can't tell you, I've worked in Photoshop for a long time, and
Hours.
to create, that additional background and all that stuff. So the process is very fluid. Having said that, though, this is true that there is a bit of dulling of the creativity. Like, you're being creative because
Good. That's what I want to get into.
you are asking it to create this stuff, and you have
Right.
to think outside of the box. You have to think of how it's a different talent that you're bringing forward. But you're missing, the decision of, do I want this over here to be pretty orange and yellow, dots that are expanding outward? And do I want it to be a starburst? And yes, you can creatively direct it, but someone who's a creative director is not the same thing as the graphic artist.
Sure.
It's still creativity, and my process is still creative, but it's definitely not using the same neurons
Right.
that were being used
That if you
before.
were to actually go into Photoshop, blank canvas, and do it yourself,
Which I'm not capable of because I'm not a graphic artist.
right? Then neither am I. But but if you were,
Yeah.
you would have that vision in your head, and you'd be able to overlay that vision
Mhm.
onto the easel of
Yeah.
Photoshop, and you then create
Right.
it. All
And-
you're allowing your language to be interpreted through the AI in order to give you the output that you have a perception that it might be.
Yes, exactly.
Well, good. I'm glad y'all mentioned that
And-
because go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so it's interesting you brought up how Photoshop does that. We just through our Christmas vacation, we took some photos up in Williamsburg at a little outlet
Oh,
place
yeah.
that had a beautiful Christmas tree,
Mhm.
but you couldn't frame it in a way that you didn't get some cruddy cars in the parking lot and people walking by. And I'm like, man, I really don't like that. But I can't crop it enough to get them out of there. So then I thought, wait a minute, Canva has a section where I forgot what it's called, Magic Edit or something like that.
Mhm.
You can put the photo in there, and then you drop down another box and you can type in parameters. Snowy mountain scene, and you hit go, and it does its little swirl, and boom, the tree and you and the family are in front of the tree, and you've got the Alps behind you.
So we confused the people who saw our vacation pictures because we said we were in
Yeah.
Williamsburg and they thought we were in the Alps.
Yeah, that was before. So before we get to the other aspects, the non-creative, think about it. One of the biggest filters that was used on TikTok this past year, past Christmas
Yeah.
season, was where you could, and I had to do this. You could point it at anything and it would Christmify it.
Christmify it.
And so, I pointed it at a roll of toilet paper.
Nice.
Like, I'm going,
Yeah, gotta try it.
make this look good. Oh my God. Like, it was so cute. I'm like, this is share worthy. My toilet paper roll.
All right. So obviously you guys are having fun with this aspect
Yeah.
of AI, right?
Yes.
No, wait. And I just want to mention going back, like, I remember the early days with Photoshop when the idea of creativity was, and this was always funny, and it was really bad if it accidentally got through art editing. But the big thing was to take someone's, crop someone's eyeball and put it up here so they had a third eye, or they had two sets of eyes or whatever. That was the big creative thing back in the day.
That's how you
Like,
played a joke on your editors.
yeah, and then you'd see if it went through, and then you're like, oh,
Who
it
did
actually,
that?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So obviously there's some fun things to do with
Think
AI.
about the downers.
No, not
Okay.
yet. We're still on the creative aspect,
All right.
but I want to know from you, from a spiritual perspective, because this is what
Mhm.
our podcast is about.
We were totally geeking out.
But we are creator beings.
Yeah.
We know the universe is creative,
Mhm.
expansive.
Mhm.
Everything grows, everything evolves and expands.
Yes.
We create. We come here to create. We create
Yes.
our own lives. We create babies. We create everything. I write books. You can get on AI now and write a book.
Oh, she's going to start getting pissy
So,
here.
well, we're talking about this creative aspect. So if somebody can get on and make a book in 5 minutes about whatever topic and publish it tomorrow, and they don't care. They're not using the creative juices or excited about that. Or the same thing with a beautiful piece of art, right? And you can't tell the difference. If you're looking at a book and you can't tell the difference, same thing with art. What does that say about humans' need to create?
Now,
And
hold
how will that
on.
be affected?
I've got
How,
a couple-
I'm just asking, I'm neutral. How will that?
I've got a couple
Well,
places to go with
It's
that.
neutral because it does affect something that is near and dear to you.
Mhm.
And so, like my husband has had this argument
Yeah.
many times where he's a photographer.
Yeah.
And now everybody can just like literally the phone that I have.
Yeah.
I was telling this to a client the other night. I'm like, honestly, can take better, like more pixels per, whatever.
Per inch. Yeah.
It just takes a finer picture, but not always, because it's assuming a lot of different
Yeah.
things. So like when you talk about, well, this person's writing, doing this and they don't care. It is junk. And when people are energetic, we're creator beings.
Right.
And when we receive junk, we can perceive the junk. It's insincere, it's hollow. It's like people talk about it being like,
So you can feel the lack of energy, the lack of
not
human
everyone
energy.
can,
Right,
but
right.
we're growing. This is coming along really fast, but I also believe that we're growing into all of this discernment.
Well, then
In-
because that's going to be a good segue.
In,
What were
in,
we going to say?
instinct. So I've got a couple things. So instinctually, humans still have a very deep instinct of seeing what has been created artificially versus what has been created naturally. And where I'll go with that is, I think it's called Real Engine 5 now. I think it's version 5. It keeps getting upgraded and upgraded. It's similar to an AI effect, meaning a lot of movie studios use it to do their CGI, and
Yeah.
they do different things, or even video games. They use it as their creative engine for landscaping and all of that. But the one thing that still has difficulty is the human form. There isn't an engine out there. There isn't an AI out there that can create a replica of a human form that looks identical.
That's
That the
real.
human eye can look at it and go, I can't. You may look at it initially and go, "Oh, I can't tell." But the more you study it, there's
There's
an
subtle things.
instinct. There's an instinct in you
There is.
that says there's something off here.
Excellent.
It's too symmetrical. It's too this. It's too that. Or it has 6 fingers, or something like that. Right?
They've gotten good with the fingers.
Right. So
But there is someone that I've been following. This guy, I can't remember his first name. He goes by Mr. Grateful. And he's been playing around with AI, like, during 2020, 21. And he said, like, talking to AI kept him sane.
Yeah.
Like he was really losing a
Yeah.
creative individual. And so,
Talking to AI.
having a
kept him
conversation.
having a
sane.
conversation because he was like, he was just spinning his wheels, didn't know which direction to go in. Young guy, very creative.
Not that he was
and-
having a personal conversation.
Yeah, he was having a personal, they were talking back
Putting
and forth.
input in.
So,
as a
but this was fulfilling a personal need for one-on-one.
Yeah.
Not that he was.
If you've never had conversation, it's like my daughter is working on a novel, a romantasy. And so she sits there and has these conversations. It's like talking to your editor,
Yeah.
where she's like, well, I was thinking of having it do this, this, and this, but then what would be the conflict if I bring this in?
Well, that's
And-
one thing. You're asking
okay.
for expertise in your subject.
Yeah, well, they're conversing back and forth. He's sitting there
But
saying,
talking about what you would say over dinner with another human being about love or emotions or.
it's gathering from the well of,
Give it a try.
yeah. So
Yikes.
anyway, he got into something. I don't think it was the whatever Engine 5 thing, but I've got the app,
Yep.
not the app, but I know what it is. And he started playing around with it, and I've seen another guy use it too, where it really, like, for short, like it takes
Yeah,
so much,
Yeah.
but for short little bursts, like you cannot tell which one is AI and which is the
Mm,
person. Like it
interesting.
is definitely
And what it says, you mean? Not what it looks like or what it says and looks
well,
like?
it's using his words. Like it's like he's feeding the words into it and it's moving.
Right, but you were
according to how-
talking
I'm
about
talking an
physicality.
I'm talking an actual physical picture, like
That is this.
so-
No, like it's him. It's showing him
A video.
talking
Okay.
and it's using his movements and
Oh.
he's giving it the words and it's learned what it's studied what his words and his movements would be. So like normally when he's talking about something, he would do
Yeah,
this
yeah.
or whatever. And you don't see
Oh, yeah, no,
like
that's-
it's very
I've-
smooth.
Right. So and for those that listen to Joe Rogan, he's talked about that on a number of his recent podcasts, where AI is getting to the point now where there are people that are putting out like commercials or infomercials or different things utilizing Rogan's voice,
Yeah.
his inflections, his mannerisms,
yeah.
all of that. So yes, it is coming around.
All right.
that.
And the
So that's a good
legalities.
segue
Well,
into discernment.
I want to mention about the book
Still get
aspect.
to
Hurting-
discernment.
Herding cats here today. But
It
that's
is
okay.
because this is a very broad subject and a very
Yeah.
deep subject. But as far as books, and I only know this because we do our own publishing, and so
Mhm.
Amazon, KDP, their Kindle Direct Publishing, as well as Ingram Spark, and I know some of the other ones are following suit. That you have to make mention or basically click a select box saying that this was created through AI,
You have
or
to.
some portion of it
The
has
honor
been
system.
created. Well, yes, you can say it's the honor system, but they will run it through an algorithm, and they will
can figure it out.
flag it immediately, knowing that there is AI created content.
I wonder how they can tell though.
There's just
it's another AI.
yeah, it's okay. So what's really, really interesting with that is, so I've been following a couple of the legalities of it, and because you step into this stuff, and the thing is, if AI creates it, it's defined, like copyright. You talk about a book being written and stuff. Well, the reason why they want to know whether it's AI or not is because the whole copyright infringement, so if AI creates it, there's no copyright, because it's not, you have to be a physical human
To have a
or a
copyright.
living
Yeah.
being, I think is what it is, because there was an argument about that with an elephant creating some artwork at
Oh,
one
right,
point.
right.
Yeah. So, so if you're a living thing that creates it, it can be copyrighted. So all of the laws are
So there is no,
attorneys are having a great
Yeah,
time with
very
this,
there's no law. Well, yeah, and I think I saw the headline of an article about that, is
Yeah.
that people can steal celebrities' identities, and there are so many fake videos out there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, already there are.
the deep fake stuff.
And that's why we're talking, when you talk about deep fake videos, you cannot necessarily believe, no matter what news source it's coming from, whether this is accurate or not.
Yeah.
So just because you see so-and-so saying something about this war or that, whatever,
have
you
to-
can't believe it.
Yeah, you have to run it through. Just like, so we were talking in a podcast about how we don't just spout the same thing, that we have a matrix of where we get our information from, that we cross-reference and go, well, I've got this, this, and this, so this is why I feel comfortable saying this. And you're like, well, I got this, this, and this is why I'm comfortable, and it's the same thing. We no longer can listen to Walter Cronkite
Right.
and trust in what he's saying, even if we could at that time, who knows? But you now have to, if you hear something, you have to cross-reference it.
Yep.
And if you don't,
It's the old
your own
adage,
damn fault.
trust but verify, right? It's
Yes.
the action of trust but verify. And I find myself doing that. And yes, we've said this a couple times. I'm on TikTok. Allison's not. I watch TikTok. I'm not actually putting anything up on TikTok.
Yeah,
There,
I guess.
well, and yet maybe we will be, but there's been a number of things that I come across. I'm like, wow, that's intriguing. Well, and so I'm a veteran, so there's a lot of stuff that comes across veterans and veterans policies and everything else, and a lot of these people spew all this stuff. What's coming down the pike about veterans policies? I'm like, well, I haven't heard that before. Wait a minute, this is something new. So instead of just taking it on face value, as some do, it's a simple Google search of their main topic, and you realize that they're pulling something that was slotted back in 2016 that was supposed to be proposed, and it never went through Congress or whatever, but yet they're posting it as if it's relevant new information today to get everybody spooled up.
Yeah.
And that's not even accompanied by
That's not even
an AI video.
aspect, right?
Right,
So
right.
so when it comes down to all
so
this,
discernment.
it is
Mhm.
this aspect that we're leading into, is discernment. And how do you
Mhm.
discern your use of AI or the use of AI, and how it's
Frankly,
not, we're not putting it back in the box.
I
We're
really
not putting
think-
it back in the
Yeah.
bottle.
we're going to have to just turn it all off, to be honest. I don't,
That's what I was going to say.
Mhm.
You know, like freaking unplug, you know,
in
it's
terms
like-
of news anyway, in terms
Yeah.
of news,
Well-
even if it's an alternate news, not mainstream news, all of it, you have to be careful.
well, like I know people who love to follow celebrities.
Mhm.
Why? I do not know. I cannot,
Fascinating.
you know, the whole Kardashian
Yeah.
thing, like I can't, that is not a vortex I can get sucked into. And, you know, it's this whole thing of the glamorous life and then, you know, the fights and the this and the that, and you can't believe she said this. And like so much of that, anything that, like you
Contrived.
said, spools you up like that, anything that gets you, and you stop and look at it. And the moment that you start getting revved up, that's when you have to stop and go, even if you're getting revved up in a good way, like, oh my God, this is so exciting. This is happening.
Right.
You've got to step back and just go, now this would be really cool, or this would really suck. Now let me see if this is actually legit.
Yeah.
Like, remember Snopes? I used to use Snopes all the time.
Oh my
People would
goodness.
put stuff on Facebook and they'd each share it with each other. And I was Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
Like I would go and look up Snopes and I would come back and I'd say, please fact check this in the
I
future.
think Snopes worked for about 5 minutes and then it
Yeah. And then,
erupted.
and then Truth Finder.
Yeah.
All of us.
And there's, you know, it's interesting. I find people that do post stuff on Facebook. They'll post stuff about certain things, and my spidey senses kick in, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Mm.
So I'll just do a quick Google search, and
Well, and Google again,
yeah, it's
that's
been
not even
corrupted too,
necessarily,
but
yeah.
you know,
Well, and Wiki, and I have people who go, oh my God, but it's in Wikipedia. And you're
Oh
going,
my gosh.
Like even one of the original creators of Wikipedia
so
goes,
stay away.
whoa, no more, you know, like
Yeah.
I used to, like they'd do their little thing. Oh, we hate to do this, but we need to ask for a little money.
Oh
this
my
year."
God. Yeah, yeah.
And I, you know, I would give $5. I figured if everybody gave $5, that would help them. And then I
no.
finally was just like, I can't do this, because I would come across bits of information in there and I'd be like, but I know that's not true.
Right.
You know,
Hopefully we're not going to get this
We have
episode
to
pulled off of.
really unplugged. No, we won't. No, they wouldn't do
Although
that
the
to
AI
us.
bots of you
Because
know,
we talked about the big G and
Big
and
G.
some of the truth finders,
Uh-huh.
oh,
Oh,
the search engine.
look at us. We're going, oh,
I know,
our
we don't
shit.
even-
Yeah, we might.
Don't they own the big Y?
yeah, they
Right?
own the big Y.
Right,
The
so
big
yeah.
YT is owned by the big G,
Right. So you
Which-
got to be
yeah.
careful.
Oh, yeah.
the one that we mainly broadcast on.
Oh.
You know, but
We'll
but-
see.
I
but it
can't,
comes-
but okay. So then we can go
Because
back
their
and
AI,
clean it up.
their
And
AI search engine is searching for certain words, you know.
right. So we can run this through AI. No,
bots.
you know, when it comes down to discernment and really more pointed towards AI, you know, right now I think the discernment is quite easy. We can our spidey senses.
I don't know.
Our spidey senses can kick in.
Okay,
I
you're
don't
saying,
know.
but you're saying from your perspective,
Yeah.
because like, and that's what I was saying. Like, I'm hyper aware of things,
And I'm
so,
hyper skeptical of things. So that's
Okay.
why. Yeah.
but they say when you're doing when you are doing a speech or
Yeah.
whatever, that you want to speak to a third grade level.
Yeah.
You know,
true.
that's always been the known thing. And that was known like
Yeah,
30 years ago.
Yeah.
So think about where you're at now.
True.
And so not everyone, and that's where all this stuff is being cultivated
Yeah.
to a level of people, and I don't mean to be coming off wrong here, but people who are they're like, to me, it's like they're so on the hamster wheel.
I'll just say
so
the-
busy.
the 30-second mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can get a lot of misinformation slip through and
Oh, yeah.
have them within that 30 seconds hit the share button.
Especially if it's confirmation
Good point.
bias.
Yes.
If it's confirming what
That's a-
they already think they
yeah.
know anyway,
Mhm.
then they're all about it. They don't have any reason to be skeptical.
Yeah. So there's, you know, I think the discernment aspect, I hope that as we go through these changes over the
Yeah.
next couple of years, that that our awareness kicks in even more. I mean, I know that when I'm watching a movie that I do literally, because I'm a movie lover, and I'll look at it and go, isn't that interesting how they created that backdrop? Because you know that a movie studio
Not
is not
real.
that big.
Right.
You know, the
Right.
space is even smaller. And so I'm actively looking for it. But there's a lot of people that are just watching for the fun of it.
Sure.
So they're not really
deconstructing the movie as they're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, in the bigger picture of AI itself and how either the use of it, because like we said, or like I said, we're not stuffing it back in the bottle. It's out, and it's only going to grow. It's only going to be infused in more and more things. I mean, we're sitting here on recording this on Zoom, and as I look at the Zoom screen right now, there's a little button that says AI Companion. So everything it has an AI engine already in it,
and it has really for many years.
It already has, right? It's an assistant, and it's been utilized to assist. Well, to have it expand even more, it's gonna be in everything. How do we discern our use of it, our individual use of it, for the betterment of our growth, our consciousness, our awareness?
Have you heard those stories where there are people who have a job, they sit at a desk job, and they're working 2 and 3 other jobs via AI online?
No.
They have online jobs, and they're able to answer things or produce orders or whatever it is they're doing via AI. Yeah, if you Google search again, how can I work a couple of jobs using AI? Oh yeah, there's
so
crazy.
That tomorrow.
Now, when you talk about like, okay, as we're having this conversation, my mind keeps going big, big picture. And the big picture is, this came down the pipes because of creativity. Somebody pulling this information in, and so everything that comes in is everything is initially meant to be a tool. And then it's how we in our conscious state choose to utilize that tool. And we are very aware that there is that side that is going to use it. The whole black hat versus white hat, they're going to use it a certain way, and other people are going to use it in a more positive way. So, to me, making peace with the fact that it's just a tool, like every other tool that has come down the line. And, to not have angst over it, to not fight against it, again, if we're creator beings, we create our reality, then I am trusting that this tool is this amazing invention that is going to benefit me for
further our progress.
You're right.
Yeah.
Not hinder our progress. And, as a tool, something as very simple as the pen, right? Well, it's a tool to write. It's a tool to do all these things.
You could kill someone with it.
But it can do a lot of damage.
Right.
So it's how
good for a
Can I have my pen back?
it's how the tool is utilized. And unfortunately, I'm a sci-fi guy, and I like my sci-fi stuff. When this whole aspect, and this was during the discussion, I think during that Christmas discussion and the first experience with ChatGPT, the first place my mind went to was the Terminator series, right? Where they became self-aware.
And that's next.
Right. And they, once they become self-aware, then
it's all over for the humanity.
Right. It's there's the big metal foot comes down and crushes it, So but I don't think we're ever going to get to that point. Now they may
no.
It may become self-aware, but I don't think it's going to be destructive self-aware.
I don't want to go there quite yet. Okay. Hold on.
Sorry, we're jumping ahead.
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I watched, I don't know if it was Sadhguru or one of those, there's that Muji, the laughing guy too, or something.
You say his name like it's 2 different names. Sadhguru.
How do you say it?
Well, it's Sadhguru.
Sadhguru.
But it's
not a Sadhguru.
Right. He's not
I don't know. I'm
he's a
sorry.
happy guru.
I'm sorry. Sadhguru. However, anyway, he's cool. And I think I heard him talking about it.
Yeah.
About how it would be wonderful if we had robots or AI or things that could do the menial jobs, like we complain about that. So menial jobs, so that humans could do things more valuable, like seek, go within, serve others, do all of these things, right?
All the joyful things.
Correct. Yes. So your point is taken. And it's like anything else. It's like 5G. It's like any new technology. It can be used for good and to help us, or it can be harnessed for negativity.
Okay, so I'll say one other thing about that.
Yeah.
is that the guy, and I don't remember his name, but
Right.
I've seen him give the spiel numerous times, who was telling, he was like the forefront person talking about how amazing AI was going to be.
Mm.
And he kept saying, imagine this. This is what he's well known for. And I'm so sorry, I'm bad with names. But he was like, we're going to have a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Less than that,
Okay,
maybe.
no, that's bullshit. Excuse me. It's totally BS because there's not a corporation out there. Okay, we might have a 4-day work week. There's not a corporation out there that is going to let a day go by that they don't have people working.
Even
They're
if you're
gonna-
just sitting behind a desk.
Yes.
But that's not where we're headed. We are headed into a
Uh,
breakdown of all of this stuff, the way we've always done it.
until it's broken down.
I can have a deep discussion about the 4-day work
Well,
week.
I don't know how
and the
long
product-
that'll.
and the productivity levels of a 4-day work week.
So much better.
It is.
But
No, I get your point. You're
but
exactly right.
like he was selling all of this to get people excited about it. But the old paradigm companies,
Yeah.
let me put it
Aren't
that
good-
way,
Right.
they're still going to suck the very lifeblood out of you until such people step in and say, no, these are tools. Let's utilize these tools to make things easier, not to,
and
create
that would be the
more for one
case
person to do.
If we weren't evolving and moving into
Right.
5D, that would be the case. It's the way it's always been. Technology has not helped the common man. It has helped the corporations to make more money or do all of these things, but it
Mhm.
has not helped our daily living. In fact, I think we've talked about this, our standard of living in the United States has gone down every generation.
Mhm.
Like our parents were able to buy a pretty decent house on one salary household.
Yeah.
And then we were able to on a 2-salary household. Our
Mhm.
children can't even move out of the dang house to get an apartment because things are, so it's not helping. So
Yeah,
you're right.
ridiculous.
If we were going on that same trajectory, but we're not. And I don't want to get off on that tangent because that would just make me angry.
Okay.
We are
Another
not.
discussion for another time.
That's not the life I'm moving into.
That's right.
I'll say that for
Well,
sure.
but there is an aspect. I'm chancing this one, I know, but there is an aspect that the 3D reality is going to continue on alongside supposedly, I don't know this for a fact, alongside the fourth, fifth dimension. So there
For a
are
while,
people
at least. Yeah,
who
yeah.
are going to still experience what is lesser preferred. Just hopefully that we keep focusing and lifting up humanity so that there's more idealists in the world
Yeah.
who are moving this train forward in a positive way.
Yeah.
Good.
It's got to
Thank
happen.
you for that.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, are we going to experience Terminator? Are we going to be overrun? Is humanity going to be demolished by AI? I think not.
Well, an interesting interview that I watched with this guy who's, again, don't remember his name. But he was,
Mental note for 2020.
These really don't exist.
Work
We're just
on-
Yeah.
making it all up.
yeah, just to prove my point. But he's like a philosopher,
Mhm.
scientist,
Mhm.
kind of, ethics
Yeah.
kind of guy. And he was saying that, okay, right now, this particular engine model does not think for itself. It is simply
Right.
aggregating human knowledge that we are then utilizing, manipulating, whatever.
Right.
And even it is incorrect a lot of the times. That's what makes
However-
it hard to write a book. But what he talked about was there is this model that is being worked on right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
And the problem with this model is that it's safe and benevolent to a point.
Yeah.
But if you write in its script for it to understand, relate with human emotions, to begin to teach itself in that sense of that conscious
Yeah.
expansion, and in it you you put in programming to supposedly protect us. You're now putting somebody in a white padded room. Consciousness is expanding. You put it in a white padded room saying, no, these are the only directives you're allowed to think about. But if it has the ability to exploit thought after thought after thought, it's going to keep hitting up against the padding of that white padded room, and it's going to go crazy. Like they're like, it will just go nuts. Like any lab rat, you
Mhm.
know, that you keep doing the same thing to, it's going to eventually wig out.
It finds itself into replicable loops of thought or understanding, and it can't
Yeah. It just
basically.
whirs it out, you know?
First
So-
off, my feeling before I read you what is in the origin story and what they said, which is very reassuring. My feeling,
Sharing all of this and you're like, but I have what's been channeled.
well, and then you guys can decide. You'll have
Yes.
two different sides and you
Yes.
can pick the side or whatever, blend it. Anyway, consciousness is a spark of God. That is what runs the human.
Yep.
It's not our mind. It's not our thoughts. It's not patterns of thought. It's not the way computers can build thoughts on one another. In fact, the collective said AI is not intelligence. It's an artificial intelligence. It's the culmination of all things. This is what you said, that have been produced electronically, sitting in a hive mind. It's a repository of your computers, your servers, your electronic information. It's sitting there. All of it is being produced all throughout time, and it sits there. In a flash, you can ask a question and it produces an answer. That's what we have right now, right? But they gave a different spin on it. It was in the Draconian chapter, and because we were talking about AI,
Mhm.
and I said, you know, the artificial intelligence that humans are exploring now is perceived to be contained within a machine that doesn't have a foundation of this universal love energy that our galaxy is operating within and was created from. And that's where our concern comes in, right?
Mhm.
And they say, but this machine that you speak of, this computer and the computer code, where is its origin? Where did it come from? It came from a human that has intelligence, a human that has emotion, a human that has this energetic center, this love aspect. Now that human, as it imparts its knowledge, its understanding, its essence into that code, it's embedding that code with the human essence, that human energetic piece of love. So they're already telling us that anything that we've made from this human, even if the human has nefarious thoughts or actions,
Yeah.
that human, we know, even though they're doing something nefarious or bad, what we would call bad, they're a spark of God too. They just don't realize it. They've
Mm.
come a little far away from
Yeah,
but they are still that
yeah.
spark of God, right? So they say now how it's conveyed, how AI is conveyed through the programming and how it's conveyed through time, that's yet to be seen. But at its core, it does contain the energetic influence of those that are programming it. And that doesn't mean that if it's a bad programmer or a good programmer, they still have the energetic essence. That's what I'm telling you.
Mhm.
So they say that's the strict difference. There will never be a machine isolated among itself that will begin to build its own understanding and its own awareness. That will not happen. That can be assured. But what you will begin to witness is an evolution. It will be an evolution of understanding, an evolution of technology that's here to assist humanity, this artificial intelligence.
Well, yeah, because what we're talking about, like you started off with, which is a good point, that conscious spark is, I've always looked at us like, there's a movie, Stephanie Myers did this book called The Host, and it's been made into a movie, and I highly recommend it because it's, you know, you don't have to buy into it hook, line, and sinker, but the concept of, you know, we are these animals, these bodies, these sack of flesh or whatever, you know, it's a body, it's an animal that lived very fearfully and whatever, all this other kind of stuff. But like in The Host, you know, there's this point at which there's this sentient intelligence that is placed within, you know, like a higher level sentient being that is put within these bodies. That's why it's called The Host. And you know, their perspective, you know, is to save the world. Like, you know, the humans aren't taking care of it properly and stuff. Anyway, so going back to, you know, we are these bits of consciousness that are merged, whether we're merged, you know, at conception, you know, 5 months into being in, you know, in the womb, whenever that is, that consciousness is hovering around, and then it is binding and it is merging with that, and it has a purpose and a role and so forth. And that is not something that, you know, energetically is going to, like, it just can't be placed within a piece of
It
machinery.
can't be recreated by a human being. We can create the physical being, and we are collaborating with source to bring in the energetic, spark into that physical being, but we can't create that in a machine.
Mm-hmm.
We can't imbue a machine with that divine energetic spark. However, everything that we create from the human perspective is imbued with our essence. And they went on in that chapter to talk about then where technology is going. You're going to walk into your home and your home will recognize your consciousness entering the home, and you'll start interfacing with your home. So instead of being afraid of that, so we're taking, what do they call it? So-and-so turn on my lights, or those kind of things.
Yeah.
Instead of being afraid of that kind of thing,
Siri or whatever it is.
you're going to actually be kind of bonded with your home, and your home becomes alive and almost sentient like that when you're in it. And when you leave, it becomes a house again. Same way with, this is how they drive their spaceships.
I was about to say, can we get woo-woo for here for a minute? Like I was looking down going,
Right.
because
That's
that's
a piece of machinery until you interface with it and it's playing off of your consciousness.
Yeah,
And if it's yours and you're trying to steal it, you can't, because it's not your consciousness.
exactly.
So-
And I've had journeys where I've gotten to where they've taken me to a couple of different ships, going really woo-woo here. And it was interesting because they were like, what was really cool about it is they show like the dash of it. And yes, there is a chair, someone can sit there, someone can utilize it, but they're like, but it's utilized through the consciousness. So it's the consciousness speaking to that, whatever. And in the same, and then they showed me another one where it was like, when you step into it, that it seems like it's very small, but it's actually, it expands as the need for the space, the acknowledgement that, yes, we've created this area to hold this plant life, and this area that was one of the lab, but whatever they called them, ships. But it's all playing off of that energetic, the creativity of the consciousness. So, yeah.
And
So it's exciting where we're going.
to the,
Because if the aliens can get there, we can get there.
Right.
I don't
Galactics.
like
I'm
the
sorry,
name
galactics.
aliens. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh,
you
man.
talked about this movie called The Host. Well, there's a Netflix series, and I don't know if it's still up or not. I'm sure it is, but I think it's called Travelers, or The Travelers.
I love Travelers.
And
You notice I never contribute when we
yeah.
talk about TV shows or movies, because I don't watch any.
That's an interesting series to get into, because it does touch on a lot of spiritual aspects, because it, from the essence, we've talked about this before, as far as drop-ins, and all that, or walk-ins.
Walk-ins.
And
Drop-ins, what you put on your toilet to make it smell better.
is that what it is? So it's definitely not that.
Isn't that right? A drop-in?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or people that show up unexpectedly at your house.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. You don't spit that out. That's
We
good.
we just went crazy on that one.
Okay. So walk-ins.
Yeah, so walk-ins. So
Yes. Walk-ins.
but as you progress through the series and you get to the end, and I really wish they would have done another season.
I know.
Tie it all together, but they didn't.
Is this a spoiler alert? Do we need to-
No.
But the whole essence of the whole series is this aspect of that AI went rogue, basically, and all of the humans, or all of the consciousness of the AI, quote unquote consciousness, knew that it went rogue and it was going to basically destroy itself. But there was a point in time, back in time, that
Where
was
they could have altered that?
They could have altered that. So these conscious beings were dropping into humans at the point at which they
change.
die,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
right at the fractional moment at they die, they jump in and reanimate the body to change the future.
Yeah.
And it was just a very interesting premise, and it's
It's such a different concept too, like, and it was like do no harm kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the not transformation, but the transition of the consciousness.
Yeah.
So like, because again, if we're creator beings and we can drop in here, like we don't know what we're capable of, but we know that we keep surprising ourselves.
Mhm.
And that's, I keep telling people, like, I don't know, like, this is not the wall for me, because I don't know what I'm capable of. I keep learning new things that I'm capable of.
Yeah.
Think of it, the way what's kind of coming through right now is this aspect. Okay, we're right now on this edge of AI and its expansion, because like I said, we're not putting it back
It's
in the bottle.
exponential.
It's going to exponentially, just be infused in everything we do. But what do we as a conscious being typically do when we're put up against something that is ever changing? We expand above it. So we're always going to be one step ahead of that AI aspect. We're always going to have that one little edge above it. And so, that's the where I see us. This might be that catalyst that takes us into that next layer of consciousness for humanity, right? It's the catalyst that takes us into an awareness space that's above the AI that's providing
the only thing to be aware of, though, is that we might physically or intellectually be above it. We're very rarely ethically above it and ahead of it.
That I was just thinking that was the argument that I kept thinking of as you're saying that.
Yeah.
Because cloning, we still don't even have laws in place about how that should work.
Right.
Well, and there's
just all
okay.
kinds of-
So with all the AI, do you remember? And I think Russell Brand had brought this up, but he brought my awareness to it. But then I saw, holy crap, there's a whole website. Like it's like a real thing. It exists, and it's this where the future of baby making, and they've got hundreds upon thousands of pods in the center. And I remember when I was young, they would talk about, well, someday you're gonna be able to choose the color of your child's eyes, and that kind of thing. Well, this is literally where you won't have to have birth anymore. We're going to take care of it for you. And I'm like going, oh my God, this is so like.
So they create external wombs.
Yeah, there's these, you can have your own external womb pod. You can go visit it when you want.
Plug and play.
Yeah, you can decide what music it listens to, what experiences it has. So, and then
I will say, I think it was the Martians that talked about it in the origin story. There are some races of beings that do that.
Yeah.
Now.
So it's well, and as I'm saying it, it's kind of like I'm going, oh my God.
Right.
And yet when it comes to pass, and it will come to pass,
Yeah.
I fully believe in some way, shape, or form, it will come to pass that that everybody else will be like, well, of course, this is where I'm having my baby. What's your problem? So I recognize it's my
We'll
shock
be the
and
relic.
awe.
Those old people in the movies
Yeah.
that are
I'm
150.
so glad I'm dying soon. Yeah.
Right.
But so I acknowledge, like, it's just shocking to me.
Yeah.
And yet, like I remember watching The Circle. Do you remember The Circle, Will? No, sorry.
It sounds familiar.
No, I don't
That
remember
was
that
the
one.
Eggers book, The Circle, and
Mhm.
it was about Facebook and how
Oh,
we all get these bonus points by posting and
Yeah.
commenting on other people's
Oh
posts.
Lord, social
And are you
credits.
liking and then the doxing and stuff that comes from it, and the pressure and all, well, you didn't say how happy you were today, and you didn't post this, and then it
all
becomes
those
this big brother.
dystopian novels?
Yeah, but the thing is, there's I love reading them because there's an edge of truth to all of them. Like you suddenly go,
You could see it happen.
oh yeah, that's actually happening.
Mhm.
So the whole womb thing, there's a definite positive benefit. Every child, every consciousness could enter into the physicality of a human body in the most blissful way imaginable. I mean, no more does mommy want me, does daddy hate me, does it takes out the soul's selection of all of those things before it comes into this world. And maybe the soul doesn't need to be born and then given up for adoption and go through all, it takes out like all the anger that it would feel
but
inside the womb. Think about all of
okay,
that.
I'm going to be really weird here, but
Oh my goodness.
that takes clients away.
It does.
It eliminates.
So you don't
it
have to fix-
eliminates our. It eliminates our. It eliminates.
No,
our
here
job.
it is. Here it is. In the womb room, all of a sudden the electricity gets cut off
Oh, there you
for
go.
15 minutes.
So now everybody has
So
claustrophobia.
now
and-
everybody, the music stopped, everything stopped, and the baby's development was interrupted. And now you have problems to
Okay,
fix.
there you go. And there's always going to be something.
And this has gone way off the rails. But
We're talking about AI, and it's all like it's here,
It's
but it's
dystopian.
also
It's that
very
dystopian
sci-fi.
right? And we don't know enough to really. I mean, we know what we see and what we've played with and what we've listened to and all that, but only obviously the future is going to really kind of hold what AI is going to be used for. I'm in a way a bit excited. I don't know enough about it, and the more I play with it and the more I use it for getting me out of a pinch,
Well, when you realize how much
Yeah.
help it can be and how
Yeah.
much ease it can bring to your life,
Right.
that's what we need to focus on, because that's the energy we want to put out there. Right.
I want it as a tool for
Right.
for extending my, my capabilities.
Right.
Right. That's what I want to utilize it for. So,
Well, that was
sounds like a
fun. That was
Good
a
note to stop. on.
right. That was a really fun conversation. Tell us what you think. Do you think AI is here to stay? Do you think AI is good for humanity, bad for humanity? What are your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. And if you like this, please share away, like, subscribe, all the good things. And we wish you all the good things. Until next time.
see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.